I think the players like Metaplanet or Smarter Web or even Capital B that have been using their grassroots movement and that have been slower to accumulate Bitcoin might fare better because the investor confidence still remains quite strong in those companies. I mean, if you look at X, the sentiment is very different than from somebody that's looking at Sequans or a Naka. And I'm not sure the pipe deals did any favor to just have a quick accumulation of Bitcoin from the get-go to those bigger entities.
Are you all in on the chair? How many chairs are you sitting on right now?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Chair. None of what you will hear is financial advice, and this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Hey, everyone. All right, let's start with a quick shout out to Treasury Orange, where I was a guest last week and had a very interesting discussion with Tyler. So we talked about the Strive Semler merger. We talked a little bit about the Bitcoin space here in Switzerland and just treasuries in general. So really fun discussion. And we'll put all the links below. So make sure to check it out if you haven't. And make sure to give Tyler and Treasury Orange a follow.
Very good. Yeah, highly recommend you listening into that. Was an interesting conversation. So our first topic today is on the crypto liquidation event that happened last Friday. One for the history books. It looks like it was the biggest liquidation in crypto by an order of magnitude, right? Because the COVID crash and the other crashes around 2 billion in liquidations, and here we had almost 20 billion liquidated. But I think the interesting part of this is that how resilient Bitcoin was, all things considered. Because if you look at the COVID crash, for example, what did we have? A 50% drawdown on Bitcoin, and it only stopped going down because some exchanges were shut down. And in here, what did we talk about? The 20% drawdown from the top, and then a very quick recovery afterwards, already over the weekend. So it shows how deep the liquidity is in Bitcoin specifically, because if you compare that to most of the altcoins that are out there with drawdowns of more than 80% on this liquidation, or some went basically to zero.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't follow the full event to be honest. I just heard about it basically the next day, and yeah, I had a lot of headlines around this liquidation event, and to be honest, it was bound to happen eventually. We haven't seen anything like it in quite some time, right? Because in the previous cycles there was always liquidation events, smaller ones, but here and there. And up until now, I believe we didn't have any throughout the beginning of this bull market. And I think a reset was due. Obviously, the correction was very heavy especially on the altcoin side, but I'm not completely surprised by it. I mean, the one thing that is obvious is, and I think this has been mentioned quite a few times, and you will see it in most posts from Bitcoiners, is don't play with leverage, right? At the end of the day, I think these liquidation events can be prevented. People that hold their Bitcoin that are not leveraged are fine right now, right? And I think it's also good for the to have this reset now, because that means that we have a clean floor, and now we're ready to go for the next leg up without any leverage. Even though we're not completely out of the woods yet, I think the next leg up should come soon.
All right. Then let's move back to Bitcoin Treasury companies, and also on that space, quite a lot of volatility over the last months, but today continuing with Strive trading down 35%. Naka is continuing to plunge. Both of those assets now under $1. yeah, a lot of negativity around those companies right now, and with the pipe deals unfolding here.
Yeah, I mean, looks like those companies that initiated their Bitcoin accumulation with the pipe deals. So talking here, Sequans, Naka, as you mentioned, Strive, they've been completely hammered down. I mean, below one MNAV now, and doesn't look like the bottom is in yet. And I think we discussed it quite a bit over the last episode, where we discussed how probably the pipe deals were not the way to go, due to the way that they are settled, and with this unlock after 30 days. I mean, we see it today. I believe the unlock of Strive was today. The reverse merger was, if I recall well, completed on the 13th of September, and now we're 30 days after that. And that's why we have this dump after the big dump already from last week. So clearly, investors are not aligned with the long-term vision of the company. I'm still questioning whether that was the right move. Obviously, now we're in hindsight, so now we know. Probably back in the day when these deals were being structured, the teams that were leading this were not probably foreseeing this completely. So probably the next deals won't happen with pipes, or shouldn't, at least.
Yeah, as you said, everybody's learning also in this space. It's super new for everyone, and I don't think anybody has had bad intentions behind that. But it is also true that the retail shareholders got really a bad deal on all of those companies, and it's brutal. It's I just saw a tweet today. If you had bought Nakamoto after the 96% decline, you would be down 25% since then. So I mean, it just shows you how crazy it has been, and I think it will be very fascinating now to continue to monitor those companies and to see where does it go from here, because the pipe deals is one explanation, right? That you have investors that are out for a short-term profit, and as soon as they get their shares, they dump. But it doesn't explain all of it, because now we are well below the pipe deal price on all of those companies, and the price continues to go down. I think on Naka it was around, what was it, 120, and now it went down to 80 cents or below 80 cents today. So we're far from even the pipe deal, which was a great deal for the investors at the time, right? So it looks like there's no bottom. We're trading below one MNAV. So what's going to happen next? And I think it will be super interesting. I have no idea, but will they be bought up by bigger players, or will they have to start selling their Bitcoin, or what's going to happen to those companies? It's not a systemic risk for Bitcoin, of course, because in the grand scheme of things, they're super small, right? It's not going to make a difference either way. But I'm just watching, and yeah, don't know what to think of it or what will happen. I don't know if you have any guesses here.
No guesses. I'm just super curious, same as you, right? Because we're witnessing the history being made with with those Bitcoin treasuries having to deal with something quite novel, and we'll see how every Bitcoin treasury deals with it. Probably they're all going to deal with it slightly differently, as we've seen how they structure their deals differently. So I have no idea how it's going to go, but they will have to take some measures, and maybe try to fix some things at the end of the day, because clearly something's not right if you're at these levels. And that's where I question. So there was a very long, very interesting post from Ben Berkman, I think earlier today or yesterday, around the pipe deals and what it meant. Although I tend to agree with him with that there is communication, and they try to educate investors on the long-term vision of companies and so on. Probably, again, in hindsight, the pipe deals weren't the way to go, and we've mentioned this in the last episode, but I'll reiterate it. I think the players like Metaplanet or Smarter Web or even Capital B that have been using grassroots movement and that have been slower to accumulate Bitcoin might fare better because the investor confidence still remains quite strong in those companies. I mean, if you look at X, the sentiment is very different than from somebody that's looking at Sequans or a Naka. And I'm not sure the pipe deals did any favor to just have a quick accumulation of Bitcoin from the get-go to those bigger entities. So we'll see what's the fallout of these pipe deals. And I'm not sure every company will survive. Yeah, so just maybe to end on this is basically you have the companies that have this organic growth like Metaplanet, Capital B, and Smarter Web, and then you have the other companies now like Sequans, Naka, and Strive that maybe jumped one or a few steps, and they try to go too quick, too fast. So that's going to be very interesting to see. And additionally, what's super interesting is now you have data sets, like populations on both sides, right? You have about 3 companies that I just mentioned with Metaplanet, Capital B, and Smarter Web company that are doing one way. And then you have Sequans, Nakamoto, and Strive doing it with the pipes. And at the end of the day, we'll see who gets to get closer to strategy the fastest, right? So really curious to see the next phases of these companies and see what happens and what's the right way forward.
Yeah, fully agree. It will be so interesting to see. And now there's so many of those companies out there that really, as you say, we can compare and see what strategy is better. And for now, it looks like this organic growth is the better way, or at least it's being rewarded by shareholders differently, and allows them to continue, because as long as the MNAV against is above 1, they have possibilities to acquire more. And we're seeing Smarter Web announcing another 100 Bitcoin buy today amidst those market turbulences, right? Because yes, they are faring better than Naka or Strive, but also those companies have been very compressed over the last few months. But still, they managed to acquire more Bitcoin. On Semler and Strive, the merger, there I'm not even sure anymore if this is really a done deal, given the circumstances and the fact that Strive has collapsed in value. I don't know if the similar shareholders have any way to veto that, or are there going to be any lawsuits on that? Because it looked like a great deal when it was announced. It was 21 shares of Strive for 1 share of Semler, and Strive at the time was trading above $5. So it was a great deal for a Semler shareholder of getting almost $80-90 a share. And at the date of the announcement, Semler was trading around $30. So it would have been a massive value appreciation for Semler shareholders. But looking at it now with Strive under $1, it doesn't look that great anymore. And I don't know if Semler shareholders have any way to stop this deal.
We will have to see. Also, I think the price action as of today is also a little bit bound by what happened on Friday, right? It was a very volatile day. So I think we will probably see a little bit better once the dust settles. And hopefully we get to see Strive bounce back, because I think we want as in the industry, the Bitcoin Treasury industry, we should see the first merger succeed. I think a botched merger would be detrimental to the whole industry, to be honest. So I really hope that it goes through, although looks like markets are pricing in probably something that won't happen as of today. But markets can also flip very quickly to the other side. So let's see what happens over the next few days and weeks.
Yeah, and on Strive specifically, this 30% downturn today is maybe also a combination of those pipe unlocks and the market volatility we had on Friday. And that combined is maybe an overreaction to the downside. We'll see. But yeah, let's continue to monitor those companies and those deals, and it will be fascinating to see how this evolves, because as you said, this first merger, not so sure if it goes through, and what does that mean if it doesn't, and what happens to those companies below 1M NAV at the end of the day. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, let's go back to strategy and their preferred share stretch that was quite stable, getting above $99 and staying there over the last week, even with the market volatility. Also now on Monday, trading in that range. But also at the same time, we're seeing strategy not issue any of the ATM on those. So this kind of indicates that they're waiting maybe for it to appreciate more. Maybe they start hitting the ATM only when it reaches 100 or more. Not sure, but at 99, at least for now, they're not issuing.
I think it's a smart move because they want to be very cautious with stretch in particular. And yeah, because of the volatility, we saw it depeg from 99 on Friday evening. Even though it wasn't so much, I think it just went to 98, 50 or 60. Regardless, you don't want this instrument to be in that position, right? And Sailor also posted an interesting tweet mentioning that the volatility on stretch is very low, which is exactly what they want. So looks like the stretch is starting to do what it's supposed to do, slowly but surely. And strategy is very careful with it, which I like and I support because you want to move rather slowly in this case, not to disturb the equilibrium on that one.
Yeah, the market needs to be confident enough that it does trade within this range of 99 to 101. And since it's been issued, it hasn't traded there. It only just got there now, right? So now it's probably about trying to keep it there for an extended period of time and increase market confidence here. And I think it did increase with this move on Friday, by the way, because such volatility on Bitcoin with within the week, a drop in 20% and stretch. Yeah, maybe it went slightly below 99, but it didn't crash. And now it's back to that level. So it does show that even with volatility increasing again on Bitcoin, stretch is quite stable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I wanted to mention as well. Is I think I love to see what happened on Friday because I was expecting stretch to be more volatile than this, and at the end of the day, it didn't move as much, and that shows the maturity that it's getting into. So that's amazing to see, and looks like the markets are rewarding a slow and steady move into this kind of stability for stretch. So that's great to see. All right, so that's all we had for today. Any final thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I really liked how you framed the different strategies around those Bitcoin Treasury companies with on the one side Metaplanet, Capital B, and the smarter web with a more of an organic growth, slow and steady growth approach compared to the pipe deals on the other side. And yeah, let's see how this continues to evolve. There will be other strategies, of course, as well. And there's an interesting discussion between Richard Byworth and Adam Back that just was released this weekend on Adam's Back, new Bitcoin Treasury company. And they have a slightly different approach again from those two, with a lot of collateral being brought into the company. Adam Back and his investors brought in 25,000 Bitcoin, so 3 billion of assets already backing this thing, and on top of that, they are also doing a pipe deal. They are issuing. They want to issue preferreds. They want to issue some convertible bonds, both dollar and Bitcoin denominated. So it's an interesting approach as well, and it remains to be seen how that one works out. But yeah, definitely recommend listening to that. We can also put the link here in the show notes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're witnessing, as I mentioned, history because we're basically at the first innings of this new industry. And obviously, nobody has the proper playbook, right? Because not everybody started like Strategy did or Metaplanet. So you need to find your own way. And obviously the pipe deals looked like it was a great way to start. Right now it's looking like it's not. But who knows, maybe on the longer term, in retrospect, we'll think, oh, it was still a great way to do it. I suspect that there will be an evolution to this where companies will have to innovate how to get the initial investment to start this accumulation machine if they want to fast forward and not do the Metaplanet or Capital B organic growth. And just curious to see also like this evolution, how it materializes. And I'm sure that we will see many different evolutions of this and many iterations, the same way actually that we saw strategy iterate on the convertible bonds, right? Because at the end of the day, it was a similar problem where the investors of these convertible bonds did not have the same vision, or don't have the same vision as the shareholders, and so the alignments aren't there. So I suspect we will see something similar on the initial investor rounds.
All right, so that was it for today. Thank you everyone for listening in. Bye-bye everybody. See you next time.
See you on the next one. Cheers.
How many chairs are you sitting on right now?